One of the biggest discussions in the gaming community ever since the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct aired is that the prices seem to be going on an upward trend right now. And this started when Nintendo announced that Mario Kart World would be costing $80, and then it was further fueled when Microsoft came out and announced that they would be raising the prices of their Xbox consoles, and they plan to make their games $80 later this year. So today, I'm here to tell you why I'm really not surprised that these prices are going up, and why it's partially the consumer's fault that they are. Before we get started with this video though, I would really appreciate if you would like it and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me grow, and if you enjoy this content, I'm sure a lot of other people will too, so liking and subscribing really helps push it out to other people. But anyway, let's get into today's topic. So if you're a console gamer and you're buying a new game, you know that the price you're probably going to be paying is $60. That has been the trend for the past about 20 years, is to keep your games at $60 as the maximum. Except for Sony, who decided to raise their prices in 2020, but their games go on sale frequently, so I'm not going to make a big discussion out of them. Now, there have always been exceptions, like Nintendo has been slower to adapt to higher pricing as a whole until now. Like with the Wii, their standard games were around $50, but by the time the Wii U came out, they had switched their pricing model to $60 for their biggest games. So my first point being is that even though games have stayed at this standard $60 pricing model, development costs have not gotten any cheaper. It's always more expensive to do something today than it was yesterday, because inflation is always making prices go up, but it hasn't really affected video games yet. The only prices that seem to have gone up with the times are console prices, which still have fluctuated and surged. It's kind of interesting how the video game market works. And the reasoning behind this lack of a price increase is likely because we have three major console developers who also hold their own exclusives, and they don't want to raise their prices because suddenly people might flood over to the cheaper options. But Nintendo decided that they were done with that when they announced the Switch 2 on April 2nd. See, the thing is, the consumer actually told Nintendo that they were okay with increasing prices. When Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out on May 12, 2023, it had an MSRP of $70. This was a departure from what Nintendo had done as a standard, using $60 as their pricing model. But with Tears of the Kingdom, they decided to raise the price to $70. Now, I feel like this is partially because they wanted to test the market, but partially because Tears of the Kingdom was probably a very expensive game to develop. It's a huge open world game, and it's the sequel to Breath of the Wild, which is one of the most successful Nintendo Switch games, and definitely one of the most successful Zelda games. From a consumer standpoint, pricing a game at $70 for Nintendo was completely a test, but it's a test that worked out in Nintendo's favor, because Tears of the Kingdom has sold over 20 million units and is the 8th best-selling Nintendo Switch game, and it reached this place in less than 2 years, which is something that is pretty incredible for a $70 game in my opinion. And this test means that the consumer is completely okay with paying a premium price for a game other than the $60 price that they are used to paying. And that basically signaled to Nintendo that people are okay with paying a higher price for games. So it should be completely unsurprising that Mario Kart World, which is a more valuable IP than Zelda, would cost $80 because people will pay for it. And it's not really Nintendo's fault because they gave people a chance to say, no, this pricing is too high. But how do you think Tears of the Kingdom sold 20 million units? People wanted to play it. They didn't vote with their wallet for Tears of the Kingdom, and I doubt they'll vote with their wallets when buying Mario Kart. But to me, this whole situation is just incredibly ironic because Mario Kart World is still going to sell incredibly, and Nintendo is still giving people a chance to buy the game for cheaper with that Mario Kart World Switch 2 bundle. But it's completely the consumer's fault that this pricing is higher because they told Nintendo that they are okay with these higher prices. So I don't know why haters keep hating because, again, they bought Tears of the Kingdom. It's clear that people were excited and okay with buying a $70 game. And I think part of it is that the bundle is going to have Mario Kart at $50 because I think Nintendo could potentially be losing money on Mario Kart World selling that in the bundle for $50. And I feel like that's why it's a limited time bundle. It's going through fall of 2025. And that could be why Mario Kart World is $80 separate from the Switch 2. Because Nintendo does have to make some of the money that they are possibly losing from bundling it in this Switch 2 bundle. So I feel like Nintendo is not wanting to do $80 games unless it's either a very valuable IP or they are bundling it with a console that has the game discounted, because Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be $70, so it's clear that Nintendo is not like going full-fledged into $80 games. They still do want to be that budget video game company, and Donkey Kong Bonanza looks like a huge game. Maybe even as big as Mario Kart World. It looks like one of the biggest 3D platformers we've had in a while, so I'm not too concerned that $80 games are going to be a very common thing with Nintendo. And that's all I have to say about $80 games today. Do you think that these companies are just straight up greedy and disagree with everything I've been saying? Or do you think what they're doing might be just at least a slight bit justified? Let me know down in the comments, and please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my content, and thanks for watching and have a great day.